Hello everyone, welcome back to 3 News Now. I'm Stephanie Haney and today is Tuesday, April 26th. Thank you for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Here on 3 News Now, we run down the stories that matter most to you here in Northeast Ohio. These are the stories that you are clicking on, reading, and sharing from our website and our app. And we start off with the national news. Vice President Kamala Harris has tested positive for COVID-19. Now, we do know it is a positive scenario in another regard because she's experiencing no symptoms. However, she did test positive on both a rapid and a PCR test. That's according to her press secretary, Kristen Allen. We do also know that she has not been a close contact of President Joe Biden or First Lady Dr. Jill Biden. That's because of their recent travel schedule. So what we now know is that Vice President Harris will follow CDC guidelines and the advice of her doctors, and she'll return to the White House when she tests negative, but she will be working at her residence in the meantime. Now, the vice president is 57 years old, so that means she is eligible for a second booster shot, and she did have a second booster shot. She had started with the Moderna vaccine, got her first booster shot in October, and then had that second booster shot on April 1st. That's before now we're learning today that she has tested positive for COVID-19. What we do know is that fully vaccinated and boosted people have a very high degree of protection against a serious illness and death from COVID-19, particularly the most common and highly transmissible Omicron variant. As more information becomes available, if it's warranted, we will certainly update you on the situation. Now, taking a look at what's going on in Ukraine regarding the Russian invasion, Russia continues to attack eastern Ukraine as the West is promising support to Kyiv, which is the capital of Ukraine, with new weapons. The U.S. Defense Secretary has promised that we will keep moving heaven and earth, that's a quote, in order to get Kyiv the weapons that it needs to stave off this new offensive from Russia, even as Russia warns that this kind of support could risk widening the war and bringing more countries into this conflict. It's been 2 months now that this conflict has been going on, and Western support has really helped Ukraine stall the invasion from Russia, but its leaders are saying they do need more and they need it fast. So U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that more help is on its way. This was while convening a meeting of officials from around 40 countries at a U.S. air base in Germany and getting these countries to promise to pledge more weapons. Germany announced that it would be clearing the way for delivery of anti-aircraft guns to Ukraine. The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that this gathering reflects the galvanized world and that he wants officials to leave that meeting with a common and transparent understanding of Ukraine's near-term security requirements. And he went on to say, because we're going to need to keep moving heaven and earth to get them what they need to keep being able to meet those needs. There's been a fierce defense by Ukrainian forces that stopped Russia's attempt to take the capital city of Kyiv early in this war. But now Russia is focusing on the Donbas. That is the mostly Russian-speaking industrial region in eastern Ukraine. And this particular area has been involved in separatist conflict since 2014. As more information becomes available, of course, we'll bring that to you. Now, back here at home in a national story, there are more than 120,000 pounds of ground beef that are being recalled nationwide over E. coli concerns. That's according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Food Safety and Inspection Service. So these products were sold by Lakeside Refrigerated Services out of New Jersey, and they may have been contaminated. So no one has reportedly become ill because of this. This potential contamination was found during routine testing, so that's positive information yet there. But the recall does involve more than 120,000 pounds of this ground beef that was produced from February 1st through April 8th. There are more than 40 affected products. We do have a link with that list on WKYC.com and the specific labels impacted on WKYC.com. This ground beef was sold under a number of different names, though, but these are some of those different names: Thomas Farms, Nature's Reserve, and Market Side Butcher. Not an exhaustive list, though. Make sure you go to WKYC.com if you are a ground beef eater to make sure that you are not getting any contaminated, potentially, ground beef. Now, back here at home, there was a fire in Painesville Township, and it completely destroyed a warehouse building, but there were no injuries. That's the good information there. This was at Penn Ohio Wholesale Gardens, and it was on Monday night. So according to the fire chief in Painesville Township, it started in the company's warehouse and storage building, and that's where fertilizer and other chemicals were kept. So people from the EPA and hazmat were on the scene to monitor water runoff for any toxic pollutants, and 3 houses across the street were evacuated, but those people are back in their homes now. We do not know how it started. Again, no injuries, but the building is completely destroyed. Now, here's big news for people that work in the airline industry. Delta will now start paying flight attendants during boarding. And maybe you weren't aware of this before. I was shocked when I first learned this. Flight attendants are not paid during boarding. They are only paid typically from the time the boarding door closes to the time it opens. So when you are on the tarmac waiting or when you are in the air. So this is a big change, and it's expected to increase their pay by several $1,000s a year. Now, Delta said that change will start on June 2nd in a memo to flight attendants to let them know how important their role is. Delta also is planning to increase boarding time from 35 to 40 minutes, which is something flight attendants previously not very excited about because, again, they weren't getting paid for that time. But Delta says increasing that boarding time from 35 to 40 minutes will help more planes depart on time. Now, the Association of Flight Attendants has been fighting for 2 years now to get Delta flight attendants to organize, to unionize. Delta has been working against this, not wanting this to happen. So the union says that the new policy is a direct result of their organizing and that they're getting closer to filing a union vote and that management is getting nervous. They also said that this is a response to employees upset over those longer boarding times that they wouldn't have been paid for before. And Delta said the new boarding policy will be on top of a 4% raise that it granted flight attendants last month. So raise coming for those Delta flight attendants, and that starts June 2nd. Now, and some surprising news here at home, Cleveland State University is changing its president. Harlan Sands will no longer be the president at CSU, and that it was mutually agreed upon that it was in the best interest that the university and Sands part ways over differences regarding how the university should be led in the future. Now, we do not know specifically what those differences are, but we do know that he will no longer be the president. And he was CSU's 7th president, served in that role since 2018, will be remaining available to help a transition through June 24th. Here's the statement from Sands. The opportunity to serve our faculty, staff, and students during the last 4 years, given all that we have faced together in these unprecedented times, has been the highlight and defining experience of my 20-plus year academic career. What we accomplished together to keep our campus safe during a pandemic, grow enrollments, develop and implement groundbreaking student success initiatives, build partnerships, expand our faculty, and bring new investors on board is a credit to the great work that you have done to make CSU what it is today. It has been a true privilege to serve as president of CSU, and it has been the honor of a lifetime to be part of our very special community. So what's next for CSU? Well, the board has named Dr. Laura Bloomberg, which is currently CSU's provost and senior vice president for academic affairs, to succeed Sands as the 8th president at CSU. And it's the end of an era in Cuyahoga Falls for St. Joseph Parish School because the school will be closing at the end of this school year. This is after nearly 100 years in education at St. Joseph. The Reverend Jared P. Orndorff, pastor, confirmed that news on Monday in a letter written to parents and guardians and said that there are less than 100 students committed for the upcoming school year. So because of that, it wouldn't be sustainable for the school to run itself as an educational institution. In order to do so, the parish would have to subsidize the school at a minimum of $500,000 for the upcoming year. So after taking a look at that, they decided to suspend operations, close St. Joseph Parish School at the end of the year. So parents have been told that all of those current students will be offered seats at other nearby schools, including Immaculate Heart of Mary School in Cuyahoga Falls and Holy Family School in Stowe. The school's Facebook page is now filled with lots of people talking about their memories at the school, people being saddened, reminiscing about their experiences there. Again, remember, the pastor said nearly 100 years in Catholic education, so it is certainly the end of an era for at least this Catholic school in Cuyahoga Falls. And it appears to be the end of the era for Odell Beckham Jr. too. Not exactly the end of the era, but more a closing of that chapter, because we are now learning that his home is for sale in Columbia Station. It's listed by Keller Williams, and what a home it is. Okay, this is after OBJ tweeted yesterday. This was his quote: "The second time ain't none like the first, we gotta make it count." And this had a lot of people thinking, is OBJ coming back to the Browns? Well, if he is, it's going to be in a different house as long as that house sells, because his house that was here in Ohio has now been listed. It was actually officially listed last week, and this house, $3.3 million, a cool $3.3 million. It's 13,800 square feet. It's more than 2 acres of land. There are 4 bedrooms, 4 full bathrooms, 3 partial bathrooms. There's a golf simulator, a home theater, a swimming pool, and the closet. Let me tell you about the closet. We have photos on WKYC.com. You have to go and check them out. The shoes are arranged like a rainbow. It's wild. There are chairs in this closet in case you need to take a break while you're perusing everything. It's quite the situation. Just go to the website and take a look at it. I promise you'll enjoy the few minutes that you spend doing that. And a lot of people will be spending a lot of time with sports betting once the regulations get worked out here in Ohio. And we now know that the Cleveland Browns have announced their official partner will be Bally's Interactive. And this will be here in Ohio now, the 18th state that Bally's Interactive will have market access for sports betting in the country. The state has until January 1st, 2023 to get things sorted out. So that's the latest that's going to happen. Could potentially come sooner, again, if they can get those regulations all worked out. So right now they're in the early stages of trying to find out where this betting lounge will be at First Energy Stadium. So they're looking at that. Anyone 21 and older will be able to get into the lounge. It'll have the Browns game playing, but also games throughout the NFL on that day. And there will also be an app. It'll be called the Bally Bet Sportsbook app here in Ohio, and there will be certain options for free to play opportunities where you can win non-cash promotional prizes and things like that. So as we get more information on that, we will definitely bring that to you. This week is a big week in the NFL, not as big for the Browns as it has been in the past because the Browns don't have a first-round pick, but it is the 2022 NFL Draft this week. That's happening on Thursday. That's in Las Vegas, where we do know Parma native and WWE superstar Mike "The Miz" Mizanin will be hyping up and representing the Browns in those first couple of rounds when all of that excitement is happening there. And the Browns do have picks in the second and third round. Their first pick is the number 44 pick overall. That's in the second round. They also have a pick at 78 and 99. And then they've got some fourth round picks and some picks down the line. So if you're taking a look at what the Browns need, our 3 News contributor Danny Cunningham is focusing primarily on wide receiver. Yes, the Browns did bring in wide receiver Amari Cooper from the Dallas Cowboys, and they traded some late round draft picks in order to make that happen. The Browns also have third-year receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones and second-year player Anthony Schwartz, but the team could be looking to bring in more bodies and sort of fill out that wide receiver position. And it is possible that Jarvis Landry could come back. He's sitting in free agency right now. But again, when the Browns are on the clock at number 44, it's highly possible that they go with the wide receiver. Other places where the Browns could be looking: defensive end, defensive tackle, and kicker. So for more on what Danny Cunningham says on that, you're going to want to head to WKYC.com. And now that the Cavaliers season has come to a close, we do know that we had 3 players who were in the running for big NBA awards, and now we know that guard Darius Garland has finished 3rd in the voting for most improved player. Memphis guard Ja Morant was the Rookie of the Year in 2020, and he won most improved player. That was announced yesterday. He finished with 221 points from a panel of 100 sports writers and broadcasters who cover the league, and then 5 points awarded for a first place vote, 3 for a second, and 1 for third. So that's how that shakes up. That's how we added up to 221. San Antonio's DeJounte Murray was second with 183 points, and then Garland came in third with 178 points. Now, Murray was on 63 ballots, which is more than anyone else, and Garland was just behind him on 62 ballots. But Morant, on 51 of those ballots, got far more first place votes. He got 38 of them. So that's how he ended up bringing it home. Now, Evan Mobley on the Cavaliers was up for Rookie of the Year, and he ended up second place in that. He lost out to Toronto's Scotty Barnes. Veteran Kevin Love is still in the running. He's a finalist for the NBA's 6th Man of the Year award, which has not yet been decided. And if you're taking a look at the baseball games lately, there is a free concert happening on Saturday, May 7th. That's going to be at 2 p.m. It's a pregame for the Blue Jays versus the Guardians because the Rock Hall is super excited about baseball and live music being back. So they're hosting this pregame. There will be live music from the Toronto-based band, the Darcys, and there will be food and beer trucks. Again, the concert starts at 2 p.m. They say they'll have plenty of parking, and by the way, it's really easy to get to Progressive Field from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's just an easy walk down East 9th Street, and the Rock Hall Museum will be open if people want to take a peek in there. One last thing to talk about before we go here. If you are on TikTok, you got to give Deontay Moss a follow because he has these hilarious nosy neighbor videos. So what he does is he finds a situation where police are responding to something, and then he goes out and he does something that a nosy neighbor might do. So he's got these videos where he's like vacuuming in the road, or he pops out of a trash can to try and see what's going on. Now he says he assesses the situation first, makes sure it's safe before he goes out there and films, and that he started this series to make his wife and his family and friends laugh, but also to promote his autobiography, which is called Pushed, and that stands for Pray Until Something Happens Every Day. And he said when he started doing this, he was doing it, of course, to make people laugh and promote that autobiography, but then he started talking to the police officers afterwards, thanking them, and he sort of thought of this as a way to integrate policing and the black community where he lives, which again is in the Ohio area here. So he's a native here, and he's making those videos on TikTok and also on Facebook, but otherwise he's a drama teacher at a school in the area. Now, if you're interested in checking out his book, which again is called Pushed, Pray Until Something Happens Every Day, you can find that on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and anywhere else that you get your books. That's it for your 3 News Now update today for Tuesday, April 26th. I will see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Now.